Moving forward. Joining me for that conversation is our federal leader, here immediate to my left, John Steenhuisen. We're also joined by the chairperson, the provincial chairperson of the Democratic Alliance in KwaZulu-Natal, that is Dean McPherson. Right next to Dean is the caucus leader of the Democratic Alliance in Johannesburg, that is Mayor Belinda Kaiser Echozonjuku. Right next to Belinda is the provincial chairperson of the Democratic Alliance in Mpumalanga, that is Ndade Bosman Grobler. And on the far left, we have one of our provincial deputy chairpersons in the Free State, that is Dr. Igos Kierkochel. To my immediate right, we have the mayor of the Midvaal municipality here in Gauteng, that is Majoro Peter Texera. Right next to Peter, we have the provincial leader of the Democratic Alliance in Limpopo, that is Mayor Lindy Wilson. Right next to Lindy, we have the provincial leader of the Democratic Alliance here in Gauteng, that is Ndade Soli Msimanga. Right next to Soli, we have the Democratic Alliance deputy spokesperson on water in Parliament, that is Stephen Moore. And on the far right at the end of the table, we have the DA spokesperson on water and sanitation in Parliament, as well as the provincial leader of the Northwest, that is Leon Basson. So with that, we are going to have a standard program. We're going to have addresses by all the leadership here, and thereafter colleagues from the media will have a Q&A for you guys. John, I'll hand over straight to you.
Thank you very much, Karabo, and good morning to ladies and gentlemen, to the panel that's here today, and of course to those people watching at home. It's with a sense of great urgency that we address you today on the water crisis in South Africa. That's in South Africa generally, but Johannesburg in particular. 2 months ago, the South Hills water tower right here had outages affecting water supply to residents of Ward 56 and Ward 57 in Johannesburg, including schools, old age homes, and an orphanage for a period of almost 2 weeks. Nationally, from Machubeng to Lekwa, from eThekwini to Makanda, to Mzimvubu to Mangaung, daily outages are becoming the norm in many areas of our country. Some of these communities across the country have not had water for months, despite having the necessary infrastructure. Behind me on this board, you can see the statistics plain as day. These are the provinces and the metros that have experienced water interruptions for more than 2 days. In Mpumalanga, 70% of homes have experienced water outages lasting longer than 2 days. Nationally, 36% of homes experience water outages lasting longer than 2 days. Yet, in the Western Cape, as you can see, only 3% of homes experience outages. And we'll get to why that is just now. This is data from 2023. Since then, the situation, particularly in places like Gauteng, has worsened dramatically. The decline has been devastating from a province like Gauteng that used to be the second most reliable provider of water behind the Western Cape. Now, I don't need to tell you how bad it is. Instead, I want to tell you today one person's story. I want to tell you about Portia Mantle, a single mother of 4 children in Vergenoegd informal settlement outside Attridgeville. Without a job, who uses her social grant to buy water. There is a municipal tank outside her home, but it is always empty. So she and other residents are forced to buy water from people who sell it in the street at 5 rand for 20 litres. Her 300 rand a month grant must feed 5 people, but now it must also buy water too. Water that should be her democratic right. Portia is just one of many South Africans desperate for their local governments to do the basics, provide water as they are supposed to do. Across the country, local government councillors come under tremendous pressure from communities to resolve water-related issues. In most cases, the solutions are out of their control, as the senior leadership, who are meant to plan and implement proper water management in their towns and cities, have checked out and are absent. Earlier this year, a task team was formed, led by the Deputy President. To date, no possible interventions have been initiated, as residents face worsening outages and millions of rands of water continues to be lost through leaks and illegal connections. Just yesterday, there were reports that in the south of Joburg, Region G, the city loses 60 million rand a year, primarily due to illegal connections. A recent DA oversight inspection in the Alfred Nzo District Municipality of the Eastern Cape has revealed a humanitarian crisis. We found contaminated wells and rivers, people sharing water sources with animals, and an abandoned water treatment plant. The Free State's Kopanong municipality has been reported to have active sewage leaks in Betuli and Springfontein, prompting the South African Human Rights Commission to call for urgent intervention by the Kopanong municipality, as well as the provincial government. Separately, we wrote to the Human Rights Commission last year around the national water crisis, and the matter was escalated to their National Legal Services Unit, but since then we've heard nothing further. One of the follow-up action steps from today will be to follow up with them and request them to now treat this with the urgency it deserves. The Free State and Northwest Water Boards face bankruptcy in the next 6 months due to the failure of local municipalities to pay for bulk supply. South African municipalities face significant challenges with bulk water debt, which totals over 22.4 billion rand nationally. Now, I can spend all morning talking about municipal water failure and action around the country, and my colleagues joining me today are going to elaborate on the crisis at a local level, highlighting some of the action steps the DA has taken. But I do think it is important to make this important point, is that no matter how much work is done at a national level, no matter how much planning is done at a national level, if local government cannot get its act together, if local municipalities cannot keep infrastructure maintained and reticulation services maintained, then nothing national government does or says can be implemented at a local level. And this is the reality. It is also why the 3% in the Western Cape is so significant. And it sends out a very clear message that it doesn't have to be this way. Provincial and local government need to step up to the plate. And in this province of Gauteng, we've seen a hands-off approach by Premier Lesuffi and the provincial government, and we've seen a don't-care attitude by the Action South Africa, EFF and ANC-led council here in Gauteng. Now, 2 weeks ago, the President wanted to declare a state of disaster over the spate of foodborne illnesses. So we cannot move from crisis to crisis, throwing our hands up in despair. We do not accept dry taps as a new normal, and neither should residents. And what the 3% shows very clearly is that when you have a municipality that's fixing the leaks, that's doing proper credit control, that's paying its bulk water providers, that is making sure that the relevant maintenance of water reticulation and storage and pump schemes are done, you can avoid this situation. It is not the inevitable in South Africa. There is hope, and we can change the ending of the story. Everything to fix the crisis is already available. And again, facing drought in the Western Cape and the city of Cape Town, it is the provincial government working in close collaboration with local government that has been able to get people through many of these water crises that have faced them. We do not see the same sense of coordination here, with a hands-off attitude by the very people who should be getting their hands stuck in resolving this issue. It's going to require a collaborative approach at all levels of government. It cannot just be a local government issue. Provincial and government and national government also have roles to play, as do industry stakeholders and more public-private partnerships. When people vote, they can bring real long-term solutions to the water crisis anywhere in the country. Earlier this year, the Auditor General confirmed again that the DA is the most responsible party at a municipal level. 19 clean audits. The DA municipalities proved that they use public funds the best. 63% of DA municipalities achieved clean audits, far and away the highest achievers nationally. In 2023, the City of Cape Town announced they would allocate 10.9 billion rand towards infrastructure. This is the biggest spend of any metro in South Africa. And that amount is bigger than Johannesburg and eThekwini's infrastructure budgets combined. Poor planning on the part of local municipalities has resulted in aged infrastructure, and the Action South Africa, EFF and ANC alliance and the Johannesburg City Council have not got to grips with this particular problem in the way that it should be, and have not provided adequate budget to effect proper repairs and maintenance in the city. The numbers do not lie. Where the DA governs, we deliver, we partner with the private sector and do what it takes to give South Africans what they need. Jobs and inclusive growth, but also the infrastructure that is so necessary to provide that. There is no way that a municipality can attract investment, can bring industry and other operations to a city to provide jobs if you do not have the most basic infrastructure right. So we have a plan to involve private companies in water infrastructure projects to overcome the funding hurdles, work towards developing water-sensitive cities that optimize stormwater and urban waterways for improved flood control and water reuse, as well as wastewater. 3, a program to develop water-wise citizens. We have to change our relationship with water in South Africa. We must be one of the only countries in the world remaining that flushes clean drinking water down into sewage systems. We need to adopt a scientific method in assessing the risks related to chemical pollution. And we need to consider a dedicated, ring-fenced grant for water infrastructure maintenance. And we must fast-track dam and water treatment works, infrastructure development and maintenance. Failing to plan is planning to fail. And every single city and town needs to plan for future demand. After the 2018 drought, which affected the city of Cape Town and the Western Cape, the city embarked on an ambitious plan to ensure that the city had sufficient water and reduced its reliance on rainwater by introducing a 3-pronged approach, including a groundwater aquifer, use of a state-of-the-art treatment plant, and desalination of seawater. This is the kind of thing that all municipalities should be implementing across South Africa. We want to protect our nation's most precious natural resource, and our country's future is at stake. Securing that future depends on citizens. We do not have a constitutional mandate to fix water issues where we don't have the opportunity to govern. And we want to start making a dent in the national water crisis with your vote in 2026. This year, many of you voted to rescue South Africa. And we're doing that nationally in the government of national unity to try and do what we can to rescue South Africa. DA ministers are hard at work in their portfolios trying to make the difference. The reality is that Portia's story cannot just be another that we hear in an increasingly desensitized way. We need to make sure that we turn this around and we can restore the dignity of our people by making sure that their constitutional basic human right to water is upheld and fulfilled. It won't be easy, it won't be quick, but as you will hear from DA leaders here today, it can be done with the right will and the right determination. We expect now collective effort, and I believe that by working together, that the provincial government stopping its hands-off approach adopted by the Lesotho administration, and this city council getting off its hands, and the Action South Africa ANC EFF coalition in the city doing something tangible about this water crisis, I believe that we can start to rescue not only Johannesburg from the water crisis, but South Africa from this water crisis. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, John, and good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon to the viewers at home as well as the members of the media that are present here. My name is Councillor Peter Texera. I'm the Executive Mayor of Midvaal Local Municipality. So I'm going to tell you a story of our municipality and what it is that we are doing in terms of investing into bulk infrastructure, especially for water within our municipality. So when we came into power about 20 years ago, the first thing that we did was to put together an infrastructure master plan, and one of it was for water, where we wanted to understand what it is that we need to do or where we need to invest our money and into whether it is reservoirs, pump stations, aged asbestos cement pipes, etc. And this master plan was able to give us guidance as to where to put our money in. And I'm proud to announce that with our master plan that we've kept as a guiding document for 20 years, we are able to ensure that we continue providing adequate water to our residents in Midvaal. Now, the municipality is investing annually in bulk infrastructure development within the municipality. We replace just over 30,000 meters of old aged asbestos pipelines into new UPVC pipelines, which is a much more durable pipeline, which also accommodates our area because our area is highly dolomitic. Now, this investment has also gone into your pressure reducing valves, where we are also putting in your bulk meters for industries, ensuring that the telemetry systems within our municipality is also functional. And for us, recently, we also unveiled a state-of-the-art control room within the municipality where we can monitor pressure drops, but we can also remotely reduce water pressure where there is, pipe breakages, etc. We can then manage the system and ensure that we do not lose any water. The municipality is even further going into, being less reliant on rainwater. And we all know the challenges that rainwater has in Gauteng. So the municipality is also looking at a water reclamation plant at our wastewater treatment works in Meyerton, where we're going to be purifying water, turning this water into grey water, which we can then sell to the industries at a much lower tariff. So for us as Midvaal, it is no longer an issue of capacity. We have sufficient capacity because of our master plan and the existing infrastructure that we have. We also ensure that there is a proper maintenance and repairs strategy where we know exactly as to when we should be doing maintenance to our reservoirs and all our infrastructure for water within our municipality. And because we have sufficient water capacity within our municipality, this has attracted investment into our municipality. So we're seeing the local economy grow in Midvaal because of the water capacity that we have as a municipality. And this has really, really assisted us to ensure that we can, the private sector can come into our municipality and ensure that they grow the economy, and in return, it can create the much needed jobs for our people within Midvaal. This is why Midvaal municipality has one of the lowest unemployment rates in the country. It's because it's a fast growing municipality and we have all of the necessary capacity of all of our infrastructure, not water. And as I've said, our plan is to reduce the reliance on rainwater and to ensure that we can supply treat our own water within the Vaal River that we have, as well as Baz Lake. We are currently talking to Baz Lake, the management of Baz Lake, to also extract water from the lake, purify the water and convert it to potable drinking water for our residents. This is to ensure that we do not depend purely on rainwater for the supply of water to our municipality. So all of our systems are in place as a municipality. We do not have any issues of water supply in our area. We do get blue drop statuses from Rainwater Board as well and from the Department of Water and Sanitation annually because of the regular maintenance that we do in terms of our water infrastructure within the municipality. So I'm a very, very proud mayor speaking to you this morning because I know that we've protected and shielded our residents in Midvaal from these water cuts that are happening across the country. And we will continue investing in our water infrastructure as a municipality. We recently built a 10 megaliter water reservoir within our municipality. And when I say that we have sufficient capacity, that particular 10 megaliter reservoir, we are using it just to boost water pressure for other areas, not as a shortage or a reservoir that we built for, in terms of remedying a water shortage issue. Thus, we're using that reservoir just to boost water pressure in our area. We've, as I indicated earlier, our pressure reducing valves are all working. And we've got, we've got constant water supply to even our prominent businesses that are located in Midvaal, like the Heineken breweries, who is located in Midvaal, and we consistently supply them with water, and there is never issues of shortages. So we are really, really proud as Midvaal. We will continue investing in our water infrastructure. And this is possible for the rest of the country, as our leader John has indicated, provided that there is proper political will to serve the community. And public reps like myself, we often take a reflection and understand why we occupy these positions, which is to serve the people and protect them from such issues as water crisis. So I thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, good morning. Thank you very much for being here, and good morning to the residents of South Africa, and in particular the residents of Gauteng. The first thing that I want to say here to the members of the media and to the people of South Africa is that we are not going to blame the residents for what is happening. The last thing that we would do is to blame the residents. Yes, there's a need to make sure that there is consumer education around the usage of water and how to actually then ensure that water is used sparingly. But we're not going to blame the residents. The residents who are on a daily basis calling for the repairs of burst pipes, for the repairs of meters that are leaking, yet there is slow response of government is actually to blame for the crisis that we're sitting with. The lack of proper planning and foresight is to blame for what we're sitting with right now. You have now a populist, rhetoric that is coming from Rainwater to then say, we want, our license to be renewed. We want a bigger capacity license. The question is, even if you were to get that bigger capacity, the fact of the matter is your infrastructure, your existing infrastructure is not going to be able to then carry the water that you are asking, to be released. So even if you were to be given a bigger license, where is the water going to go? You are just going to have a bigger mess that is going to be taking place and a disaster that is going to be fast-tracked. We are sitting here, a leader, with 11 municipalities in this province of ours, including the metros. And I can tell you right now that none of these municipalities on their own will be able to deal with the issue of the infrastructure. And this is why we have said right from the beginning, even when we were engaging with Panyaza Lusufi and when we were trying to put government together, is that one of the things that we were demanding from the get-go is to have a plan, an infrastructure master plan. Because I can tell you right now, water that is coming from here is somehow connected to Ekenhof, is somehow connected to what is water that is coming from Ekurhuleni. The people that are having water in Tshwane, having water that is coming from the Vaal, going through Ekurhuleni into Tshwane, and then from Tshwane, even going to places like Bretts, going to Mogale City and all of that. And therefore, to then say municipalities must plan on their own is not a working solution. A solution to then say, what is the infrastructure master plan for the province? Bring in all the municipalities and say, as a province with all of the municipalities, what are the challenges? I can tell you right now, Johannesburg needs about 100 billion rand for its infrastructure. Joburg, Tshwane and Ekurhuleni each need about 90 billion rand. So you can then add up and you would realize that none of these municipalities would have on their own, and I'm only now talking about the metros. You can then now talk about Mfuleni, you can talk about Lesedi, you can talk about all these municipalities. And you'd realize that none of them will be able on their own to build up their own infrastructure and to maintain the infrastructure. And it's pretty simple. Go and look at what the Auditor General is saying. He says none of the municipalities are now financially sustainable in the long run. Why? Because now you have to rely on these on a daily basis. The tankers that you have to rely on a daily basis. And now what we started seeing happening in KZN is now happening in Gauteng. There's tanker mafias in Gauteng, where some of these infrastructures deliberately now been destroyed, deliberately now been sabotaged, so that they can be reliant on the tankers. And therefore municipalities are not going to be able to sustain themselves, because what end up happening is that money that is supposed to be going towards building and maintaining the infrastructure is now being taken towards the provision of water through tankers. And this now is happening more and more frequently, which means that municipalities are having more and less money that they can put towards infrastructure. We have said that the infrastructure master plan is something that the provincial government must put together, pull all the resources at a local level, and come up with an infrastructure grant at a provincial level that we are able to then say we will go and seek for money at a provincial level, make sure that we're able to then build and replenish all this infrastructure, and make sure that you're able to then start billing people correctly, so that when you bill people correctly, you are able to then recover the monies. I mean, you go to Mfuleni, you would know that Mfuleni right now had their bank accounts been attached. Rainwater has attached Mfuleni accounts. Eskom has attached Mfuleni accounts. And when Peter, when we were in charge of Mogale City didn't owe Eskom a cent, didn't owe Rainwater a cent. Go and look at the situation right now, and it's getting even worse. And we are not going to be able to do it if the municipalities are left to their own devices. What normally happens is that even with the informal settlements, there's a mushrooming of an informal settlement. Tomorrow, the same people that are there are demanding for services. They're demanding rudimentary services. Those are things that hadn't been budgeted for, but have to be catered for. That means that municipalities will then take money out of other programs and other projects to make sure that they're able to then fund this. And therefore, they will then continuously neglect the infrastructure that is there. We now need to make sure that that maintenance plan that we spoke to can actually then be funded from a provincial perspective, implemented at a local level, maintained at a local level, and this is what we have been asking for. But unfortunately, we have had a premier that is more obsessed, with power than actually using the power to do what is right. We have had a premier that is very much obsessed about, showing that he's got power, which he doesn't at this point in time. With a 34%, government that is running, he doesn't have the power. We have been saying we want to work with you. We have a plan that we want to introduce and help you to then roll out this thing so that municipalities in the long run can start experiencing some savings. Imagine if Johannesburg was to reduce its water losses by just 20%. Just 20%. Johannesburg will be able to turn its financial situation around. But now you are losing so much because certain instances they will tell you that it's not only the people that are losing water through, best pipes. It's also the fact that you have so much illegal connections that are taking place. You have so much water that you cannot account for at the end of the day. Yet, at the same time, Rainwater is saying, but I've given you so much amount of water, I'm demanding payment, for that amount of water. Therefore, we are saying we need a government at a provincial level that is able to then come with the municipalities around the table and say, this is what we now need to do. The fixing of the infrastructure, having the standard operating procedures in terms of the time or the allowed turnaround time when a meter is reported or a best pipe is reported as a problem, that you need to make sure that you don't surpass 6 hours at the most whenever there will be that problem, and you're able to then address that. But until such time as we're able to then do that, I promise you will not be able to then take care of the situation. Unfortunately, we have been telling this government that we are heading into a disaster. But like they acted when we told them about the Eskom disaster almost 2 decades ago, they've turned a blind eye again. And this is why we're finding ourselves in bigger problems. Johannesburg right now, as I'm speaking, there are places like Forsberg. If you don't get water at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, forget about having water the next day. You will go the whole day without having water. There are certain parts when you go into Winterveld, if you don't get water at night when the demand is less, you're not going to get water because there's throttled pressure there. That means that in high-lying areas, water is not able to then be pumped. I think places like Rosettenville, there are places that have gone for quite a long time without water as well. And this cannot be. If we're serious about having an economy that is growing, it requires, a supply of water, supply of electricity. There are companies, NEMPEC is one of those companies that we've engaged with the leadership in there. They're saying, we are struggling. We're employing thousands of people, but we are struggling. We now have to reconsider our options and say whether we want to stay here or we want to then go. We still are saying the DA is willing to provide a workable plan here in Gauteng. A workable plan that is not isolating municipalities, but is integrating municipalities, but is also coordinating from a provincial perspective, and is actually able to then come up with a funding model of this thing. But unfortunately, when you're having a government that is much more arrogant, that is much more interested in proving that they can govern with whatever percentage that they're having, instead of saying, can we work together to provide solution for the people of Gauteng, you'll continue to have reservoirs that are running dry, reservoirs that are actually cracked. The same reservoir that we're sitting next to here is cracked, is actually losing water. Aikenhof is actually losing water. So quite a lot of these reservoirs that are around here are actually losing so much water. And therefore, blaming the residents of Gauteng and blaming the residents of South Africa is not going to be the solution. Yes, we need to then educate people about the proper usage of water and the saving thereof. But it is up to government to make sure that it has a workable plan that can be implemented and make sure that we are able to then implement it as a matter of urgency. We cannot do it next year. We cannot do it in 10 years' time. It has to be done now. There is a plan. We're more than happy to engage leader. And if they are willing to talk to us, we're willing to listen to and talk to them and implement this solution. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dean McPherson. I'm the chairperson of KwaZulu-Natal. I'm also the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure. I just want to give a reflection on the state of water in KwaZulu-Natal. Unfortunately, it seems that all the bad things start in KwaZulu-Natal, then migrate to the rest of the country, whether it's mafia, water tankers, water outages. I don't know what it is, but we still do suffer problems in places like eThekwini, where water shedding or water cutting goes on for hours and days at a time. In the South Coast, we still have places that haven't had water for going on 7 years now. In the Umgungundlovu district, we have a dysfunctional water board that just cannot provide water, which also affects
really hot, so things are melting away. Okay, should be fine now.
And in the Umgungundlovu district, we have a dysfunctional water board which affects the performance of our Mgeni municipality, which often has to suffer under water cuts because of them. And that's why we developed a plan in going into the election of water in every tap. And we think it is entirely possible that the provincial government can step in and should step in to ensure that water in places like Jozini in the Mkanyakude district do have water, that eThekwini does have a functional water system, and in the Ugu district as well. But it comes down to something that I said last night on a TV program, that municipalities simply cannot and do not have the ability to implement infrastructure plans anymore across the country. They don't have the technical skills, they don't have the ability to do so, and they do not have the financial backing to attract private sector investment into infrastructure development. And for as long as that is allowed to continue, and for as long as the system of just having a hands-off approach to infrastructure development in the country persists, we will continue to see the results that we have, which is why it's so important to see what happened in the Western Cape, how the government intervened and took hands and partnered with local government. That's why you will know that we have started
what we term as Adopt a Municipality, where we are going to be instituting a trial project with 4 local municipalities across the country to work with them through an entity of ours to implement infrastructure needs, particularly in things like water treatment, water distribution, and wastewater treatment. And we think that if we can get that right, and if we think we can show the metrics of how successful that is by ensuring that the 950 billion rand that is made available in the 3-year budget cycle for infrastructure development is actually implemented, that we will be able to see water flowing through every tap in this country. But it's also incumbent on political parties to actually do what they have been elected to do. And particularly in this city and this province, the city has an Action SA-led coalition government. And they must stop pretending that they have nothing to do with the governance of the city. They are directly responsible for why people don't have water in their taps now. And they will bring the same disaster to Tshwane as well, because they are being led by the nose, by the EFF, who have no interest in ensuring that water is delivered to people's taps except through tankers so that they can get a cut from that. And make no mistake, there will be political parties that will be supporting the water tanker mafia to make sure that they destroy infrastructure so that they can get kickbacks and a cut from what is being then have to be provided to municipalities. And I don't just know that, I don't think that that's a theoretical explanation. I've seen it for my own eyes in KZN. And remember, what starts in KZN migrates to the rest of the country. And it was political parties acting to go and destroy infrastructure, working with groups to go and destroy infrastructure. Why? So that they could then make sure that their comrades and friends were able to get tenders for water tanker mafia. Just an eThekwini leader, they budgeted 500 million rand for water tanker services. Why would you do that? Rather spend the money on fixing the infrastructure. But you can't get so much money out of that if you were to fix the infrastructure. So you just go and follow the money, and you will see the political parties in different colors, not blue, that will be behind these water tanker mafias, I assure you. So I think it's important that now, as we move forward, we hold them accountable. We're doing what we can in national government to make sure that they can get water into their taps, but municipalities have to play their part, and they have to ensure that they put the interests of the residents first. Thank you so much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lindy Wilson. I'm the DA leader in the lovely province of Limpopo, and I sit in the provincial legislature. And if ever there was a place for a crisis, it has to be Limpopo. After complaints some time ago, a year ago, almost to the day, we were given a report by the Human Rights Commission after we had requested an investigation into state of water in Limpopo. That report revealed that not one water service authority in the entire Limpopo province was in line with the Act, and that 70% of people had been denied their basic human rights in terms of the Constitution to access to clean running water. There was a total collapse of infrastructure. Out of that report, every one of those water service authorities was given 3 months to supply their turnaround strategy to the HRC. In that report, the MEC of Coxter and the Premier were pointed at by the Human Rights Commission, saying what you did was inadequate and your oversight on this situation severely compromised and not up to standard. I'm talking to you a year later. We are still waiting for those Water Service Authority reports. We are still waiting for the report that had to be submitted by the MEC of Coxter and the report that had to be submitted by the Premier of Limpopo. We still have not got that. And in the meantime, the situation gets worse. Our 57% is now at 70%. in a province with the highest expanded unemployment rate, and with, as I stand here, people sitting in temperatures of 46 and 47 degrees heat with no water. Polokwane, the city itself, I have huge areas that have not had water for 21 days in the capital. 21 days, no water. That didn't help stop them lifting the building moratorium to build more developments when they can't supply water to what we've got currently. So that comes with a problem. But added to that, apart from the fact there is no water and a collapsed infrastructure, I have done recently oversights on all the sanitation plants, the sewage plants in Limpopo. Not one of them was functional either. Raw sewage coming into those plants, directly out of those plants into the rivers. We recently had our first outbreak of cholera. Because you see, when you can't get water from a tap, you need to go and get it from the river. I still find people on a daily basis drawing water out of holes next to the cattle and goats in the area. It is the only way they can find water. The water table has dropped. They are running out of that water too. But to draw water from a river has now become a huge risk because it is contaminated by the sewage plants that are running directly into those streams and rivers. Our local municipalities are totally dysfunctional, with several operating on an unfunded budget. The vacancy rates are astronomically high, and the capacity of the personnel that are there do not meet standards to deal with this crisis. It is really a time of hardship for the poor and vulnerable. And as Dean and the other leaders have mentioned, we now have the water mafias. I got a video yesterday of a tanker arriving in a village in Musina, which has to be the hottest town in the country, where people were hitting each other with sticks and rocks because they were not going to all get water. They were arguing about who was first in the line and who should get a bucket and who should not. It turned into a war zone. And yet our Limpopo province dreams on holding functions for this, that, and another. So I ask the people of Limpopo, and I tell you this, hope is not over. We can fix this. We can fix it with the right people in place, with the political will, with the expertise. And if we don't have the expertise in Limpopo, we will bring the expertise from Cape Town and from Midvaal, who have put out their hand to say, you need us, we will be there to help you. We can't help you. We cannot turn the situation around until you give us the mandate in Limpopo to do so. I hope that you are not turning a blind eye to what I am saying today. For those of you watching this broadcast, I have no doubt that you will be sitting under the blistering heat without a fan, without water, without access to air conditioning, and dying of thirst. My heart is with you. I was in Tabazimbi this week. I know exactly what it feels like. Change your vote. It's time to say enough is enough. Let's give the DA the chance to fix the Limpopo crisis. I thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Igor Skierkwochel. I'm the Deputy Chairperson from the heart of South Africa, the orange, well, not it's the Orange Free State because it's so dry now, so they can actually bring back that name. Life is water. It's the foundation of health, dignity and progress. It's the lifeblood of our economy and our future. Yet, the Free State is being denied that fundamental right. Today, I don't just address you as Igor, but as a fellow South African who shares the frustration, the anguish and the determination to see change to protect our constitutional right to have access to water. The Ishmajigule legacy of state capture and corruption has left the Free State water infrastructure collapsing under mismanagement and cater deployment. Of the 96 water waste treatment plants, 64 of them are in critical condition. Municipalities like Mangaung loses 46% of their water due to aging infrastructure. That is 1.7 billion rand waste. Communities in Kwakwa haven't been having water for more than a decade. In Paris, they endure weeks without water, while sewage spills into rivers like the Vaal, the Wilge and Caledon. In Vrede, they are supplied with 6 water tankers that have to travel 70 kilometers to Warden or sometimes 75 to Milan. It's not just a question of scarcity, but of mismanagement. Untreated wastewater contaminates drinking water, reservoirs run dry because of power cuts, theft, and contractors abandon these projects like Namahadi and Mafube. What's the result? Cholera outbreaks, unsafe drinking waters, and unthinkable suffering like towns in Wimberg and Maleketla that have been without water for 27 days. This crisis is personal. Children walk through sewage to reach school. In my home municipality, Machabeng, on the 10th of November, Loyila Maketa, age 11, and Relapeng Mechijutu drowned in Tabong because of incomplete sanitation project. It's a sheer cruelty that children have to die because of cater deployment. Families rely on expensive and unreliable water tankers, as my fellow colleagues said, controlled by mafias to exploit their desperation through lucrative contracts with the municipalities. Business shut down because they don't have water, pushing the unemployment rate higher. Now the DA is working tireless around this program. Through legislative oversight, we took action to get Section 139 interventions in municipalities like Machabeng to expose corruption and incomplete projects. Through our leadership of Dr. Roy Jenkinson, we submitted a detailed report to the South African Human Rights Commission, and they've recently released that report that's saying that all these municipalities need to take action within 3 months. Our council is on the ground, partnering with civil society, trying to bring relief to communities by our abandoned government. But relief is not enough. Systematic change has to happen. We have to appoint skilled, professional people to manage the water systems, not unqualified caterers. We have to end cater deployment, which puts loyalty over competence. Restore maintenance and repairs programs of aging infrastructure. We have to limit the Minister of Water Sanitation with her unchecked powers ensuing over water boards and we have to make sure that water boards are led by qualified people to limit political interference so that waters go through taps. But we cannot do this fight alone. We need you, every South African, every Free Stater, to bring change. That's why we have launched the Dry Taps campaign. So visit nodrytaps.co.za and sign our petition. Together we can demand transparency, accountability, and investment to rebuild our water system. Together we can ensure that every tap runs with clean, reliable water. Together we can protect the dignity and the future of every South African. This is not just about water. It's about hope, justice, and future we all deserve. The DA is ready to lead this change, hand in hand with you. So come 2026 and the next local government election, vote DA and keep the taps running. I thank you.
Good afternoon. I am Bosman Grobler, the Provincial Chairperson of the Democratic Alliance in Mpumalanga. I'm also a member of the Provincial Legislature, and as you can see on the map behind me, at least in 2023, Mpumalanga was the province that did the worst in water provision for our citizens. There's literally not one moment or 1 minute that every community in any of the 17 municipalities of Mpumalanga has water at the same time. Every moment there's a mother, a child, or a grandfather which this basic human right is being stolen from. In the Govan Beki municipality, which is better known for the towns of Secunda and Bethel, over the past couple of months, the municipality suffered from persistent water shortages because of issues with Rand water and old and dilapidated infrastructure. And although the municipality blamed it on the dilapidated infrastructure, the DA's investigation showed that the municipality of Govan Beki owes Rand water 800 million Rand. They were therefore throttled with water, and this gives the municipality only 50% of the water that they need. Obviously, this has a huge influence on the towns and communities of Govan Beki. The DA in Govan Beki has led the fight against the shortage of water through various petitions, motions, statements in council, and we are proud to say that 30 million Rand was allocated towards infrastructure development and maintenance in Govan Beki. We will keep that executive accountable to spend that money correct. In the towns of Standerton and Balfour, which is the municipalities of Lekwa and Dipaliseng, these municipalities are at the grips of water shortages. And the DA uncovered 2 projects which were undertaken to build water reservoirs in these municipalities. And despite millions being spent, these reservoirs are unused at the moment. In the municipality of Tabacheu, Leidenburg, the Leidenburg Dam is at 40%, but despite that, there's a water shortage and water is getting little. The infrastructure of the town of Leidenburg is so dilapidated that the water cannot get to the houses in Leidenburg. Our councillor there has driven this issue through various pickets, petitions, and media statements. In the town of Umsugaligwa, where day 0 is approaching very fast, the Willem Bremer Dam is drying out. The DA has driven this issue on various levels, with a visit from our committee chairperson in Parliament, our deputy minister, but the problem remains that the infrastructure which should be maintained by the municipality is not maintained, and water cannot be delivered to the residents of the municipality. In this municipality, the same as many of my colleagues said, water tankers and the water mafia are really at the steer of things. Our Member of Parliament, Henro Kruger, wrote to the Deputy President on this issue as well. In the town of Carolina, in the Chief Albert Lutuli municipality, the water level of the Boesmanspruit is at 40%. Our Lone Ranger councillor there has fought this issue on many levels, calling for a special council meeting to only discuss the water issue of the municipality. Both the Premier and the MEC of Koksta has been approached specifically for Umsugaligwa and Albert Lutuli, where day 0 is fast approaching. The DA in Mpumalanga calls on residents in Mpumalanga to vote for the DA. Where we are now, we will keep holding the executives at local and provincial level accountable for what they should do and how they should spend their funds. But the easier choice is to vote for a DA representative and make your local council a DA council. We have got the solutions and we will implement them. In 2026, vote DA. I thank you.
Yeah, everybody's hot here, so they ask for 1 minute. Good morning. I am Leon Basson. I'm the provincial leader in Northwest and the spokesperson on water and sanitation in Parliament. Northwest is not different of the other provinces that has spoken before me. As we speak at the moment, in Rustenburg there's a shortage of water. In Brits Maribeng there's a shortage of water. We can look at Klerksdorp and in Lichtenburg. Lichtenburg, that has been dissolved in 2022 because of maladministration. That municipality, only 3 of the 17 boreholes are functioning, and those people are sitting without water now for weeks. the local government and provincial government is not assisting to get these people to get water. And the mere fact is that the private sector is not contributing anymore because they've done it so much in the past. The DA itself spent hundreds of thousands of rands only in Lichtenburg. We took Eskom to court. We have paid for pumps and valves that came out of DA funds to assist the community, but that did not help that community. And that is not because there is drought in the area, in the province, or a shortage of water. It's because of municipalities where there is corruption, maladministration in those municipalities, where we see tanker mafia damaging our infrastructure so that they can make more money getting water to the people. The same water that the municipality is cleaning that needs to be paid for is tankered to communities for free, and the municipalities needs to pay that. Our infrastructure in the country is at a very bad state. We're going to need more than 900 billion rand in the next 8 to 10 years to fix this infrastructure. And the only way we can do that in this country is to take hands with the private sector to make sure that we get people involved in water so that we can clean up the administration and get our water clean. We've seen the Blue Drop report that has been released. There's a reduction in the quality of our water. And that is a huge problem, that in some areas you would get water, but you're not sure whether that water should be boiled or not. So South Africa is facing a huge problem with our water, and I think it is time for government to take hands and make sure that there's leadership, because the problem lies in local government. On local government, where the ANC and Action SA and the EFF is governing, they're looting the coffers of those municipalities, and they are not paying water boards. That's why we see 2 water boards in this country that is going bankrupt in the next 6 months. I sat on the Portfolio Committee on Water and Sanitation, and we had a meeting with National Treasury, and we instructed National Treasury to come up with a plan to help these water boards. And 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, it was decided from National Treasury, in consultation with Kokta Minister and Water and Sanitation Minister, that the equitable share of 5 of the biggest role players in the big amount of money that's outstanding to water boards, that their equitable share would be frozen, and that money will be utilized to pay the water boards. So government can't just, and local government as well as provincial government, they can no longer just have a blind eye on the problem and say it's not our problem, it's a problem of Rand Water or this water board or that municipality. It's collectively. The provincial government must look after the municipalities and the metros within their areas and make sure they deliver quality water services to the people. It's the people's constitutional right to have clean drinking water. And we now see that this government is neglecting that, and people are denied that right. So on 2026, it's the time now to change local government, because that is where the problem lies. If you want to go on, continue having water shortages for the next 10 years, you must keep on voting where you're voting. But if you want change, you need to vote for the DA, because where we govern, you would see 3%. Because provincial government cares, local government cares. And like Solly has said, it's not the residents that's to be blamed, it's government. So make a choice in 2026 and get the right government to make sure that we can get sustainable services all over this country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, colleagues. See, if Peter Texera can provide water in Midval, then surely the municipality right next door here, Mpumalanga, can do the same. And most definitely, the city of Johannesburg with a metro budget can do better and make sure that residents have water. So it's very clear to see that the problem here isn't really that there's a budget that is missing somewhere to provide water. Simply the problem here is that we have people occupying positions that they are lazy for, people who do not care about South Africans, people who are not interested in serving South Africans. And that's why as the Democratic Alliance today, our message is very clear to say to South Africans, we see where the problem is. Together with you, we are committed to turning the tide around. We want to ensure that in the next local government election, South Africans have an opportunity to have sober representation. Make sure that we have people sitting in the right positions, occupied to make sure they work. So we, colleagues, have just tabled all of that. We are good. We are going to have an opportunity after this for one-on-one engagements with the media. So if you guys do want to have any conversations with any of the leaders here today, there will be an opportunity for one-on-one. I still implore everyone, guys, to say we have a website that is available for us. That is nodrytaps.co.za. Let us go to it, make sure that we participate, and make sure that across the country, each and every one of us get to register our grievance against the sheer disrespect that has been seen by government by not providing people with water that is a human right. I want to say thank you for every one of you guys for sitting here in the sun with us in commitment to ensuring that people have water. Thank you for taking the opportunity. For everybody who's tuning in online, thank you again for tuning in. Continue to like and subscribe our views to make sure that you follow all DA content. I want to say thank you, guys. Kidizamba, homonad. Bye-bye.